There's two ways that you can learn. You can learn from your own mistakes, or you can learn from the mistakes of others.
Hi guys, so today I have on Tammy Washington de Sencion. Hey, and we are excited to talk about some things about 2024. And I love having conversations with Tammy because she is one of those people that we can just talk about anything. We can flow from personal into financial. I love that. I talked to her one time. I was like, yeah, I'm looking at some REITs, and she knew exactly what I was talking about. She didn't have to pull up Google. She didn't have to say, what is a REIT? Like, I'm like, yes, you're my people. Yes. So, Tammy, welcome to Simply Unique Coaching and to the channel. And can you just share a little bit about yourself, who you are, and then just, a little bit of your journey, whatever you feel comfortable with? Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Tammy Washington de Sencion, and I am multifaceted.
Love it.
It's the way that I like to say it. But my career journey, I have been a corporate trainer for over, oh my gosh, almost 15 years now. I absolutely love helping employees grow. I absolutely love even coaching, executive coaching, as well as personal development coaching as well. And so I run trainings and workshops that help people to be their best selves. Essentially, that's what I do. And I met you because I moved abroad 4 years ago. And so that has been an adventure all in and of itself, moving to a different country, getting married to, someone from a different culture, and then recreating my career even here. Because as a corporate trainer, obviously I speak English, and I would train for corporations, and then moving abroad, I had to kind of rediscover, new avenues. So I love helping people with that as well. And so that's kind of where I got into investing and learning about investing. And then I took my skills, that I learned from training in corporate America, and I started helping and teaching people how to invest. And so that's been my journey. And then, I think we've been talking a lot about moving into 2024 and what do we want to do, and where are we going next. And where I've been going back to in 2024 is really helping people again to um, be them best selves.
What came to my mind when you talked about 2024 immediately was like the phrase Alhamdulillah, which is Arabic for like thank God, like or praise God or whatever. Because
Mhm.
life was life and for a little bit there, but you know what? We always push through. And I was listening to someone talking earlier. So if you are in a situation where life is lifing, then I want you guys to think about okay, you have to move forward. We're
Mhm.
never staying in one position. We're either moving forward or we're regressing, right? And so it's really important for us to continue to move forward, to continue to just put one foot in front of the other, and eventually we'll get out of whatever that situation is, that hard part. Whether people are sometimes dealing with health issues, or the health issues of family members, or it could be financial issues, or it could be work related issues. Maybe you have a boss that you can't stand.
Right.
You may have a terrible boss, or whatever life situation is being thrown at you. If you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you'll find yourself on the other side. And normally, at least for me, what I found is like when I get to that other side, there is a bunch of, or a plethora, let me say that. There are a plethora of benefits and blessings and lessons learned. And now it's like, okay, now it's time to reap this harvest. Now it's time to go get it. And I know one girl says on YouTube, she said, get it, girl, get it. So it's like you get on your get it, girl, get it, or your get it, guy, get it, whatever, or, whatever. And just go ahead and do things and do great things and make your mark. And then you have the chance to tell that story of, hey, this is what happened to me. Now I can
Yeah.
tell you. And I would just say, just recently, I have been so, so, so blessed and so fortunate. Like literally, I've had three or four, actually four people, including a mom of a person I didn't even meet the mom before. She was like, you are changing lives. And I know that's what I love about Tammy, because Tammy has a heart for people as well. She wants to see people win. And so, Tammy, I want to talk a little bit about your professional development experience because you have a heart for that. So can you share with us like why are you so passionate about professional development, and kind of maybe even when you discovered that you were passionate about professional development?
It's so funny, and it's so funny that you started this conversation off with sometimes we go through things, and if we just take a step and take the step and take the step, it gets us to where we need to go. The way that I actually became passionate about helping employees develop was because I was working a job that I absolutely hated. When I say I hated this job, I hated this job, okay? I had the golden handcuffs because it was in IT. So I was getting paid very well, but I absolutely hated it. And it was during a time in my life where I wasn't sure where what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. And so, the job came to me, and I accepted it and I worked there, but I was miserable, right? And so kind of where this started was part of the reason why I hated that job so much was because there wasn't any training. It was a very much throw people in and see if they can sink or swim. And if they swim, we know they're a part of the team. If they sink, too bad. And that just didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, well, maybe everybody could swim if you would just tell them what to do or if you train them well. And so I took it upon myself to ask my manager. I said, hey, do you mind if I just create a training manual? Just a guide that every new hire could have that gives them a little bit more confidence. So as they're coming in and they're getting on these calls, because it was a call center for an IT company, and we were, helping people with their computer issues. Can we just get like some basic guidelines, that everybody, and he said, if that's what you want to do, do it. I think it was kind of like, get out of my office, like that's what you want to do. And I was like, yes. And that was my start. I started by creating a training manual for my team. And, it probably took me maybe 2 or 3 weeks to put it all together, to talk to the leaders on the team, to find out the most important information. And I didn't even know at that time that training and development was a career. All I knew was that there were people that were just like, retention was just, there was no retention. People would start, they quit, they start, they quit. And I was just like, there has to be a better way to do this. And so that was kind of what got me started. And from there, it's just been about, how do I help people win more? How do I help people to succeed? How I help people to be the best that they can be in their role? And I love it.
I love that. I love that. So a couple of things stood out to me is that like sometimes the way that we find our purpose or our passion is accidental,
Yeah.
but then when we discover it, it's so fulfilling. And I was thinking, I said, and you probably solved like at least a couple $100,000, well, yeah, a minimum of a couple $100,000, because I know for the company that I used to work for them to hire and train somebody, it was at least $50,000
Yeah.
they were spending between benefits, hiring somebody, benefits, pay, and just the training. So when they lost an employee, they lost $50,000. $50,000.
Imagine in IT. Imagine in IT, because they get paid very, very well.
And then at that point, you were living in California too, right? Or were you?
In California, in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities in the world.
So they were,
So
yeah.
yeah.
I hope they gave you a bonus. If not, I hope it just comes back to you in blessings,
Right.
because you saved them some money. You saved them some coins, as we would say. And then, so like now, I know you're looking at doing some new things inside of the professional development arena. I know you're working on some trainings and stuff like that. We won't go into that unless you want to talk about the trainings. But what I do want to talk about is kind of, one of the things I remember you sharing with me as far as like, okay, if somebody finds themselves upset, this is a technique that they can use, or just, even the importance. Let's step back. Let's talk about the importance of professional development. Why do you think that professional development is important, especially in this day and age? Because anyway, I can't, but I will say this, okay, because people may not know what I'm thinking. Okay, so I have been leading people since 1997. I have been a leader since 1997 and being paid to be a leader. And, even earlier than that, those were unpaid positions, but being paid to be a leader from 1997. And so I have worked with people in lots of different arenas and stuff like that. And, if you look at social media, if you are a hiring manager, I'm talking from the perspective of a hiring manager, you would think that there's a lot of, I'm trying to find the nicest word to say, but a lot of, I gotta say it. Okay, I gotta say it so that it has the impact. But there's a lot of crappy people in the pool, in the hiring pool, and that's not the case. That's not really the case. But that's how you can feel if you look at social media. And yes, there are things that are funny. Yes, there are things that are that make us, think, okay, yeah, there's something bad things out there, and there are some bad things out there, but everything's not terrible. And so one of the things we have to watch with social media is getting trapped in this funnel that puts us all, that everything's terrible all the time. All the employees are terrible. All the employees want to quiet, quit, quiet. Because the thing is, if you're a good manager, you want good employees. You don't want crappy employees. I'm just gonna say you don't want crappy employees. And so
Right.
I just feel blessed because one of my first hires is somebody who is young, is from the new generation, and is so excited about the work that we're doing. And I'm so excited. And I'm like, listen, this is gonna be great. So anyway, all right, let's talk about why is professional development important, especially for new people who are younger or people who are just, trying to figure out how to climb maybe the corporate ladder or trying to figure out how to just grow in their jobs and in their positions. Why is professional development important?
Well, the number one reason is because we're always growing, right? Our roles are growing, things are changing in our companies all the time. And so if we're not growing with the changes, you're going to get left behind. So you've got to constantly look at yourself, you got to look at your life, you got to look at your career and say, what do I need to build next? What needs to happen next in order for me to get to the big goal that I have for my life? Also, when a company hires you to do a job, obviously you want to do the best that you can for that company. That's why they're paying you to be there, right? So you should within yourself have the desire to want to grow and be your best self so that you can be the best that you can for that role. So then you can get promoted, you can do all of the different things that you want to do as well, but mainly because you've been hired to do that. So yeah, so you should take advantage of every opportunity for professional development, because not only is it going to help you to impact your own career, but it's also going to help you to be really great in the role that you currently have.
Awesome. And before you answer the next question or the second part of the question that I asked you, one of the things I was listening to some content the other day, and they made a valid point. They were talking about how, like, yes, with the advent of technology, there's a lot of resources at our fingertips. There's Google, now there's AI, there's all of these other things, YouTube and stuff like that. And there's a lot of free content out there. However, what you can't get out of free content is the person's actual expertise and experience, and B, you can't really get it in an organized fashion. So I know that I have a background in education and training as well, and so I know that when I look at developing something, and I'm sure you're the same way, we put it in a logical manner and method that makes sense for somebody who's going through the process. We don't start you on part H when you need to start at A. You know what I mean? We start you where you need to be so that you can get what you need to have. And so just, when people are looking at free stuff, yes, there's free resources, and yes, I use free resources as well. But then I have paid for some mentors, and I don't regret it. And I paid for several mentors. I paid for several
Yes.
mentors. I paid for several training programs. Literally, the company that taught me leadership, like at least when I started to get really deeper into it, I know they paid
Mhm.
thousands of dollars to train me. And so what are
Yeah.
your thoughts about paid, resources or paid trainings versus like free trainings or free resources? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah. So absolutely everything that you just said, there is always going to be another level when it comes to training, and especially when you're looking at whatever it is, whether it's leadership, customer service, things like that. It's one thing to gain the information, it's another thing to be put into situations where you have to actually use it. And there's two ways that you can learn from your own mistakes, or you can learn from the mistakes of others. And so whenever I'm hosting a training, one of the things that I'm always going to have are actual scenarios where you're literally getting to practice, what would I say or what would I do in this situation, okay? And once you get into that place where you start to practice, you no longer have to learn through your own mistakes. You don't have to learn there on the spot when you're working with a customer or when you're working with a team member. You now have practice of exactly what you want to say. And so that type of training is invaluable, and you just can't get that from watching a video. You've got to get in there and actually do some work with it. And so that's why, whenever I'm writing a training, sometimes I start with the activities. What's the activity I want them to do around this? And then we build in the learning, right? Because that's going to be the most important part.
Okay, so I want to go back to that question I had about, just some of the most valuable professional development that you like to teach, that you find to be most helpful for individuals. What's something that's common that people don't know about? And before you answer that question, the other thing, what you just said about like mentors and trainings is the value of being able to actually talk to the person. Like literally every day now, I am not every day, but quite a few hours of the week, I am in some kind of um, class or whatever where I'm learning and growing and continuing to grow because I'm learning something that's new to me. Leadership I can do, but there's some other areas that I want to explore that are new to me. And I have access to people who have done well, have proven themselves. And I'm like, okay, if I have access to them and they're giving their time up, or, whether it's paid or whether it's whatever, I can be in the room. I'm going to spend that time, that money, whatever, to be able to ask the questions. And so right now I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed to be able to do that. But anyway, going back to the other question. So what are your like favorite trainings, or like some of the things that you like to do with people?
So, well, from a personal level, some of the best trainings that I've ever had as a speaker and trainer, I remember I took a training course, which was a 5 day training course in Los Angeles with, hundreds of other trainers in the room. And what we learned in that course was basically how to do what we do in a faster way. Okay. And so again, I had been working in corporate America at that time for probably about maybe 4 years in my career at that point. And so if I wanted to write a training, it would take me a couple of days, right? And so after that 5 day training, I could write a training in 2 hours. So sometimes it's not necessarily, okay, I'm learning something new. Sometimes it's I'm learning how to do what I do faster. I'm learning how to trigger my ideas faster. I'm learning how to create systems faster, right? So that I can actually work less and get more done. So that was one of the greatest lessons that I learned. It wasn't that I wasn't a great trainer. It was hey, let me show you how you can produce faster, right? I've taken some amazing leadership courses, and one of the things that I always believe in is transformational courses, right? Courses where you have some sort of a breakthrough, courses where you are pushed outside of your comfort zone. And the reason I love those courses is because it triggers something inside of you to be a greater version of yourself. And so that's why whenever I am doing training, I'm always doing things where, hey, let's push the boundary a little bit, because so much of um why people do not step up and become their best selves is this fear that they can't do it. Right? There are people right now in your jobs, you're on your teams, who could probably be great managers, but they feel like, well, I could never do public speaking. I couldn't speak in front of the team. I couldn't lead a team, right? But if I bet you, if I put you in a situation where you were forced to lead, it might ignite something in you to show you that, hey, yeah, I do have what it takes. And so when people have that aha moment of like, man, I can be a great leader. I can do the very thing that I've put my mind to. That's for me. That's everything for me. That's why I do the work that I do.
I love that. And I'm excited to, I don't know if you're allowed to share, because I know the thing is sometimes when it comes to certain types of work that we do, there is like confidentiality, stuff like that. So I don't know if you at a high level can just share even one of the transformations or one of the comments one of the people who completed your training had to say about completing the transformation, because that's those are the types of trainings that mark your life, and you're not the
Yeah.
same, you're better for forever, because of it. So I don't know if you have just a quick like story you can share with us with one of your people. If not, for confidentiality reasons, I understand, but just in case.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had people who have gone through retreats with me, or have done some of my trainings where they're like, man, that was life changing. You literally shifted the way that I look at life. And years later, I still remember the lessons you learned that you taught in that training, right? And the reason why those lessons get locked in is because there's actual physical movement and activity associated with it. And that's why I tell people all the time, transformational work is the best type of training that you're ever going to take. Why? Because it's not about sitting and writing a whole bunch of things in your notepad, right? I'll give an opportunity to someone who has the right spirit, the right hustle, the right grind, the person who says, I can do all things, right? The person who says, I got this, over the person who has all the notes on how to do it. Because that person who has built up that confidence, that person who has understand how to tap into their own limits, they're going to be able to find how to do it. They'll figure out the how, or they'll hire somebody who knows the how. But what most leaders are lacking is that inner grit, that inner thing that says, hey, I can do this with confidence. I
Mm.
can walk this walk and I can take others with me. That's the transformation.
And that's so powerful because it's important that we believe in ourselves, and even in those times where it can feel shaky or life can feel shaky, it's like we said earlier, you still move forward, and then
Mhm.
eventually, you'll get your bearings, and the floor will level out beneath your feet, and you'll be like, okay, walking solidly. And I just think that that's so powerful, and like what you said, it's so important when we see the change that we made in the lives of others, and it's like, okay, I really really made a difference in this life, and who knows how many generations will be different and better because I provided this training or I provided this input. And even for me with leadership, why I started Simply Unique Coaching is because of what you shared exactly earlier. Because I was properly trained in leadership, and because I have like over 18 years, well, oh, yeah, probably over 18 years. I like to say like over 15 years because I'm just not really into counting right now anymore. I'm just like, listen, it's over 15 years and I've led way more than 18 teams. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot. But part of the reason why I started the business is because I kept encountering leaders who were struggling because
Mhm.
they didn't have certain knowledge. They were really good at a job and then they got thrown into a leadership role because, hey, you were a good customer service rep, or hey, you're a really great analyst or builder or whatever the situation is, engineer, whatever. Why don't you be over this team? And it's like, yes, being good at this job does not mean you're good at leading and inspiring and motivating people. That is actually a skill set that has to be developed. And even if you're a natural born leader, you still have to learn some things. And so
Yes.
that was part of why I started it. So I literally planned everything and mapped everything out. Like if I was starting from scratch in day one, what does anybody who has not been properly trained in leadership need to know to be successful? And so I
Mm.
just I want to say, like, I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. And then if you feel led to, you can share just maybe a little bit about what you're working on now, or what you're working towards, like what's your I know you're developing a training. Do you want to share a little bit about that and maybe the timeline of when you anticipate it being ready? I know certain things are not always set in stone, but just it definitely will be 2024. She's a friend of mine, so I want to make sure, yeah, earlier in 2024. I can say it because it's all good over here. But
Yeah, so my brand new training that I am actually working on right now, we should be doing our first session this summer. So leading up in the next couple of months, you will see some content around some of the things that we're going to be learning there. I'll be doing some videos, I'll be doing some workshops, but it is going to be here in the Dominican Republic. So people who are like, hey, man, I've always wanted to do a retreat. I've always wanted to come to the islands. But more than that, I've always wanted to figure out like what's been really holding me back. And if you're ready to uncover that in the most beautiful place on earth, then check out and look forward because that retreat is going to be coming up very, very soon.
I love that. I love that. And just so you know, because I know right now when we're filming and taping, it is January. So I was talking to someone the other day and they were talking about snow. And that is not something that we're seeing. That is not
I was
something that we're seeing. So
yesterday.
yeah, definitely come and check out the Dominican Republic and all of everything that it has to offer. And I'm excited because I believe in Tammy. I just know that she has such a great heart, and she wants to see people go and grow and to do better things in their life. And like even if you're in a good spot, you can always get better. We can always grow. We should always be excelling and looking for excellence. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up for today. And Tammy, let us know how we can get in contact with you or how we can follow you. I think you have a social media handle that you can, give to us. And I'm pretty sure when you have your training ready to go, you'll be putting information out on that on social media. So let us know how to get in contact with you.
Yes, absolutely. Every single social media handle is the same. It's my name, Tammy Washington de Sencion.
All right. And I'll make sure that
So
that's on the screen here.
it's
Um,
long.
yeah. And I just am so happy you were able to make it on. I know we have been talking about this for a while, so I'm glad we had a chance to get together to make it happen. And I'm looking forward to just seeing you do great things in the future and changing lives, one life and one student at a time. So thank you for joining us today, Tammy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Hey, bye, guys.